I came and went like a wave. I went like a wave. Oh, I came and went like a day. In the night I was away. Oh.
Hello everyone, I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions. I'm here in Kensington, Calgary, and today I'd like to bring to you an interview I had with a gentleman by the name of Andy Hoffman. He's a big precious metals guy, a recent convert into the crypto space in the past couple of years, and he's got a lot of interesting insights on the dynamics of precious metals and cryptocurrency. So without further ado, here's my interview with Andy Hoffman.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Today's episode is brought to you by the Flippening shirt. Hey, it didn't pan out with Ethereum, Bcash, or Ripple, but next one for surezies. Hello everyone, welcome to the BTC Sessions. I'm excited for today's interview. I've got a gentleman by the name of Andy Hoffman. He's coming to us from the world of sound money, the world of precious metals, and has dove headfirst into the crypto space. He's from CryptoGold Central, and I'm going to let him do a little introduction of himself and what he does. So Andy, take it away.
Right, and while we're doing that, I'm going to try to do my lower third. I forgot to do that, but it's CryptoGoldCentral.com. Yes, if you don't know me, I was a leading precious metal commentator for close to 15 years. Got in 2002, and for the last 6 years, up until this summer, I was the head of marketing at Miles Franklin Precious Metals. So I was as well known in the precious metal space as anyone you can name, top names here in this space. But when Bitcoin came along, I started to have doubts about precious metals. I started to publicly talk about it in my free daily blog as early as, I think, February of 2016. And that's when I started accumulating, and more and more the questions about Bitcoin's immutability that people were worried about, the scaling debate, got resolved. I became more and more confident, and thus this summer I went all in on Bitcoin, and I just have a small position in gold left. I've sold all of my silver, and I started CryptoGoldCentral.com to focus principally on Bitcoin.
Wow. So you are actually leaning towards a world where crypto is pretty much king. It sounds like, from what you're telling me. So you've liquidated all of your silver, and I did notice this morning that you had a tweet. Let me just kind of wrap it up what you said here this morning. Silver's miserable performance this year, down 1% year to date, with gold up 2%, Bitcoin down, and the dollar down, proves what I pronounced this summer. It has lost all its monetary value. That's a bold claim there. So you think that silver is not worth holding anymore, or
not at all? In fact, you can go back to the genesis of this, and I've been a sound money person forever. That's been the dominating theme of my personal and professional investments and career moves for 15 years. But it was back probably about 2 years ago when I first started to tell people, got chastised for it at my work. My first concerns about silver were about 2 years ago. As Bitcoin came onto the scene, I started to realize that the whole precious metal case about bartering was kind of silly, because now that you had these digital assets around, it's not like you were going to barter with silver. In fact, you probably never would anyway, unless there was a Mad Max scenario. And even if that was the case, what are you going to be walking around looking for someone else who has the exact amount of goods you want for the exact amount of silver you have? It just kind of broke that meme. But as the past 2 years have gone by, and Bitcoin's immutability became not in doubt anymore, I just realized that the days of precious metals as a store of value are dying. Now, gold will always have that kind of elite store of value, and it's 70 or 80 times more valuable than silver. So the big money of the world agrees. But I think this summer, once SegWit was locked in, I mean, that's when it started for me. It wasn't even when it was activated. It was middle of July when I was like, wow, we won the scaling debate. It's locked in. And then 2 weeks later, you had the hard fork of Bcash, and it did not split the network. To the contrary, it just made the network stronger and the price go higher. I realized that the days of holding big amounts of metal and thinking it's going to transcend time were over. And so that's when I sold all my silver, basically July and August, and I left in August, precious metals, and started CGC in early September. And one of the first articles I wrote was called, and again, you can get a free 7-day trial at my website, CryptoGoldCentral.com, and you can read all about it. And I wrote big value in small packages, the future of wealth storage, meaning no one wants to have, I think I said that like it would have like 1,000 pounds of silver, the same value you can have in 13 pounds of gold, and of course 0 in Bitcoin. And I think that's the future of wealth storage. And of course, there's so many other benefits of Bitcoin over precious metals that they're innumerable.
Mm-hmm. And so I was just curious, do you draw I guess, do you see some similarities between Bitcoin and gold as far as what you were saying, where you think that silver doesn't have value anymore, and that it seems kind of like the one precious metal that you believe will have some value going forward is gold? Do you see some parallels with that and Bitcoin in relation to other altcoins?
Well, let's see. The way that I mean, to me, Bitcoin's already extreme, just past gold like it wasn't even there. I mean, it's really amazing. Gold was the superior wealth storage asset for 5,000 years. And again, when I sold all my silver this summer, I didn't sell any of my gold. I still had all of it. In fact, I probably sold some of the silver and put some of it in gold. I probably had more gold than I ever had in August when I started CGC. And now I'm down to just a 5% position, because I realized very quickly this fall that gold is, as I call it now, I call it a inflation adjusted savings account with essentially no downside, because the mining industry has been destroyed and you have all this inflation, and a call option on crisis, meaning I don't think that gold is going to go anywhere unless there's a major crisis. Otherwise, it's just going to be, a nice asset to own because of inflation, but it's not going to be really doing much unless there's a major crisis, in which case I still think Bitcoin would be the big winner. As for altcoins, I mean, I've been talking about this ad nauseum. I think that 95% of altcoins are the equivalent of dot-coms. They're just stories that are created by a centralized person or group of people just to generate profits for themselves. Many of them may actually believe that their idea, like pets.com, is going to do well, or maybe that idea is going to do well, but not for another 10 or 15 years. But the fact is, I think almost all altcoins are worthless. That's my view. And I think we've had this big bubble burst in the altcoins because of rank speculation on assets that don't really do anything. But that said, I do think there are a lot of parallels to the dot-com era. There are definitely going to be some, I call them companies, because I don't really think of most cryptocurrencies as currencies, because they have unlimited supply and centralized control. But I think that there are going to be some major winners over time. And but there's going to be very, very few of them. And some of them haven't even come around yet.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Now, I want to get into the topic of FUD, because you are very, very confident in Bitcoin. You see it as, like you said, replacing gold, and it's the place to store wealth moving forward. And we get these hype cycles where everybody's piling in and thinks it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and then we get these FUD cycles where there's these scary stories that are hitting the news, and the same people that were just excited and piling in are now freaking out and running for the exits, because weak hands, if they bought just because they saw the price going up, they're going to do the same thing when they see the price going down. So some of the stuff I just would like to bounce off you and get your thoughts as to the legitimacy or lack thereof with some of these stories that are used to, I guess, frighten people into selling their Bitcoin. So one of them would be, and we've kind of touched on this, the idea of Bitcoin being replaced. So a flippening, like we've heard it before with Ethereum and Bitcoin Cash and then Ripple, and we hear it all the time. What do you think of the idea of Bitcoin being usurped by something new because it can be more nimble and move faster?
Right. Well, just generally speaking, we talk about FUD. I just talked about this a week or two ago as we, got into this big correction. And I said, isn't it amazing that this is the biggest correction, albeit it's off of the by far biggest jump. I mean, last year we had 6 drops below of more than 30%, but then again, the preceding increases were never more than 50 or 80%. This time we had a 250% increase in Bitcoin in the space of a month, and then it fell 50%. So it's kind of proportional. It's not really as dramatic as people think in terms of percentage wise. But the fact is, what I was saying is this is the biggest drop that I've experienced in close to 2.5 years in Bitcoin, but it's the only one that's not accompanied by any FUD. I mean, there's absolutely nothing out there I have the slightest bit of worry about. The South Korea stuff isn't even news. It's only news because it happens to be coinciding with a blow off top in altcoins, which, which trickled down to Bitcoin and created a sector-wide decline after this monstrous. I mean, if Bitcoin's up 250%, what are some of these altcoins up over this period? Far more than that. So they give a lot more attention to this Korea stuff, especially because it's not even true. There's not a shred of truth about anything going on in Korea. I tweeted last week, I said, getting rid of crypto in Korea would be like getting rid of baseball here. It's the national pastime. And when there's even hints of them saying that they're going to stop it, this petition comes out and 250,000 people sign it to, get rid of the Ministry of Finance people talking about it. It's not going to happen. And they got to compete with Japan and China. This is a big business for Korea. It's not going anywhere. And nothing has happened. Again, there's absolutely nothing going on there. It's just, Reuters and all these, mainstream people who hate Bitcoin. Probably Bcash will contribute to it too, because they think it'll hurt Bitcoin more. Of course, it hurts them more, just as much, but they're too stupid to know. And it's nothing. South Korea is nothing. But you're talking about the flippenings. Am I worried about altcoins? After what I just saw now, I think this correction, this bubble and burst of, because it is a bubble of many of the alts, right? But this to me just solidifies the fact that people are going to be looking at this and going, you got to be kidding me. Why did we buy this total crap at ridiculous prices that we don't even know what it is? We bought this stuff and have not a clue what it is. We know that we can pump them up because they're unregulated. There's absolutely no one to stop us. They're thin, so we can move them around. And there's all kinds of ways to spread FUD and anti-FUD all over the Twitter and get people to pump things up. But we have no idea what these things do. And we don't even know who runs them most of the time. So my point is they're all crap. And of course, you talk about flippening. So we've had four flippening fears. Actually, I'd say 5. First, we had the one last June, which was Ethereum, which when it only got to, what did it get to, 0.15 Bitcoin, but it was a big jump. And it was at the time, it was right in the middle of the time of the UAHF when Jihan Wu was attacking. So you had Bitcoin actually going down at the same time. And so it was causing all these problems. And of course, that fizzled out. Then we've had 2 or 3 Bcash ones going on. As you said, Ripple is the worst of all. Ripple almost makes Bcash look good. Not very good, but good. And then I would say about 2 weeks ago, we actually had an overall altcoin flippening. Like alts, generally speaking, are better than Bitcoin. And guess what? All of them have fizzled out. And this one is going to fizzle out more than all of them because everyone is going to look at this episode right now and go, what the heck did we just do?
Yeah, it's very interesting when the altcoins pump. Sure, they pump a lot more than Bitcoin, but when you look at the drops, they get hammered way worse. When there's a sector-wide pullback, the altcoins get slaughtered. Bitcoin, sure, it'll pull back, but oh man, looking at some of those drops from things that were really pumping, things like Tron and Ripple that were, everybody thought they were these are the next things. And sure enough, they just get slaughtered. It's, people buying in at 350 and then now it's at $1 or something for Ripple. And
Ripple was absolutely amazing because, I mean, again, you had Brian Kelly, right? This guy had positioned himself to be a hero. He was on. He even came to Adam Meister's show. And I mean, look, he admitted it. He really doesn't care much about Bitcoin. He's just bullish on crypto in general, and he's a trader, so he's not really like a true Bitcoiner. But he, he came to us and he spread the word, and he seemed like he was kind of like one of the good guys. And then we look up, what was it, January 5th or 6th? He's on CNBC giving a tutorial of how to buy Ripple on Poloniex with Bitcoin, and the price at the time was about $3.30. And a week later, it was 90 cents. That is the essence of altcoins and CNBC and mainstream, and not doing the right thing and simply holding the king, Bitcoin.
Yeah, it was astounding to see on CNBC there him walking through. I don't know how. I mean, that was very specific. I feel like there's a conflict of interest there with him doing that on air with a specific coin. That's a little
you mean like the person who's in charge of Twitter at CNBC being the wife of the person in charge of the Bcash crypto hedge fund, who's like best friends with Roger Ver, tweeting about how you should buy Bcash the same day that Coinbase surprisingly launches Bcash and starts trashing Bitcoin.
It's unreal. If anybody hasn't seen it, I mean, just for a good laugh, check out what is it, CNBC Fast Money or something like that? Is that the Twitter handle?
Yes. And Roger Ver was simultaneously on Fast Money. Yes.
Oh God, yeah. That Twitter account, I've got to say, it looks like it's run by a 5-year-old. It's screenshots of the Coinbase app trying to do technical analysis with like MS Paint circling thing. Oh, it's awful. It's just awful. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Anyway. CNBC, that's what they've done, destroyed people for years. That's why their ratings are the lowest they've ever been, despite the rigged stock markets being at the highest they've ever been.
Yeah, it's astounding. It's well, I'm gonna move from this particular type of FUD. There's one other thing I'd like to address. It was an interesting post actually on Reddit that opens up the idea of, so we were talking about South Korea and regulation and things like that, but beyond regulation, I want to talk about the incumbents trying to protect their position. So there was a post on Reddit the other day, and this was somebody that works for one of Canada's big banks. And this person was saying that they just got a memo in their inbox. And essentially the people at the bank, he didn't say which bank he was working for, but he said that people at the bank sent this lengthy email down from the higher ups saying that they were very concerned about the amount of money that was flowing out of their basically their investments through Interac online transfers into cryptocurrency exchanges, and that now they were going to essentially hold anybody's account that was doing such a thing until they could call you, and they would have comments made on your account, and you'd be flagged for high risk or suspicious activity, and will be treated differently when applying for things like loans and mortgages. Is this the point where banks are really starting to worry and they're starting to realize that money is flowing out of them? And how far do you think that they'll go to defend that position? Or do you think that they'll start to align themselves with crypto? What do you think the move will be going forward from here?
Right. Well, it's a good question. I mean, I wrote an article a few months ago, said Bitcoin will make or break governments, but the same could be said for banks and any corporation or institution or individual. I mean, you have to make a decision. Do you want to embrace or do you want to fight it? Now, in the case with banks, it's a little different because they have the government looking down their shoulder. The AML KYC is a major issue. It's a major issue for precious metal dealers, and far more so for crypto, because banks are scared of the ramifications. They're not scared that they have high-risk clients. They're scared that the government will come down on them if the government decides that crypto is an enemy of the state. So you have seen all over the world all kinds of things done. You haven't seen any banks say, we love it, although there have been a couple that have openly associated themselves with exchanges, and because they saw the profit opportunity and realized it's or said to themselves it's worth the risk. But many banks in all different countries have done all kinds of things. I mean, I've seen it in CryptoGold Central. All kinds of people I helped try to buy crypto, and they have all kinds of problems with banks holding up wires or disallowing wires or asking for added information. And the same with exchanges. People have difficulty getting validated because of these very reasons. And you see it all over the world. Look, banks don't know what to do. They don't know if they should embrace it or if they should fight it. And the ones that do think that they should embrace it, a lot of them don't know how, because the fact is embracing it is not the same as actually profiting from it. So I think they're taking their cue mostly from the governments. And at the same time, they're trying to figure out, is there a way that we can exploit this? And I think what they're going to find out in time is that they will not be able to exploit it. They will have to change the way they do business. Just like Amazon.com just opened its first employee-less supermarket today. Well, it's the same thing. I've said for a long time, we don't need banks. We literally, we won't need stock exchanges. We won't need investment banks like Goldman Sachs because of the decentralized nature of Bitcoin. It's just a matter of how long it takes. And, there's going to be some decisions by banks, governments, everyone about how to deal with it. Because if you can't beat them, join them is going to be the best way of looking at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, like you said, if I can send money anywhere in the globe, if I can securely store it myself, if I can choose my investments, if I want to invest in other assets, and I choose a smart contract that allows me to do so, why do I need to pay somebody else to do that for me, let alone an antiquated banking system that has made essentially zero effort to keep up, right? So they've pretty much got to innovate and figure out where value can be added, or go the way of the dinosaur and disappear.
Yeah, I would say banks. I would say banks are to Bitcoin what Blockbuster Video is to Netflix. I mean, they're just. It's not like you need them for some things. Yeah, I guess if you quote needed a money order right now, you'd have to go there. But with Bitcoin, you wouldn't need that either. I don't think there's really any use at all for banks anymore. At all, completely. I don't see any need for it in the system at all. Right now, all they do is just take free government money and invest it in rigged markets, and basically selectively decide who they can how much money they're going to take from their clients for giving them the things that they can get anywhere else. They can get it eventually through third party, through decentralized financing operations.
Absolutely. Now, there's something else I wanted to touch on here in relation to this. Seems to be a FUD-filled show, but we're kind of dispelling some of the FUD, is what I'd like to think.
We live a FUD-filled life, Benny.
Yeah, that's true. Every day. So I wanted to talk a little bit about scaling. So earlier on, we mentioned about SegWit getting activated last summer. And as of late, so there's been a lot of fluctuations in things like the mempool, the backlog of transactions, expensive fees. But just the other day, we saw the mempool essentially clear out. Transactions were getting through just fine for 80 Satoshis per byte, but you could get away with 35 or 40 Satoshis per byte. So the cheapest it's been in quite some time. And not only that, but we're seeing all of this activity around the Lightning Network. We're seeing nodes pop up around the globe and real world live net transactions being done with the Lightning Network. Do you think that the days of expensive transactions are numbered? Do you think that this is just around the corner now? It's just a matter of time?
Absolutely. In fact, this had to be 2 days ago that I said the game changer for Bitcoin for 2017 was locking in SegWit. That was it. That was when we knew the quote scaling debate was over, as far as will some other Bitcoin be able to come in and usurp it? And the answer was no. Once we used the muscle of the UA Universal Soft Fork to push out all the hard forks, and the only one that even came around, which was Bcash, which is just kind of this last second bastardized save face thing, which turned into nothing more than just kind of like a little gnat It's got this pool of money that it uses to attack Bitcoin feudally. And so that was the game changer then. That's when the price went from 3,000 to 20, and when people like me no longer had fear. I don't care what. There's no piece of news right now, aside from someone saying that they actually hacked the SHA-256, which isn't going to happen, could ever stop Bitcoin right now. So that was last year's game changer. And I just tweeted and wrote about this maybe 2 days ago. I said, based on exactly what you're talking about, the unbelievably rapid pace of development, not just of Lightning, but all this stuff we saw out in Vortex's show the other day, the Schnorr Signatures guy, the BISC, the decentralized exchanges, the Rootstock is now out right now. I mean, unbelievably fast pace of development. We saw Sunday a live, as you said, a live showing of the Lightning Network working. This year's game changer is going to be that by the end of the year, the network will be a lot fast. It's already faster and cheaper than it was just a month ago. But by the end of this year, I think it's going to just blow people away how much faster and cheaper it is because of Lightning and all these other things that are going to be added. And that's why the second part of that same tweet, when I said that this is the Bcash killer. Bcash is dead. They are so dead, and everyone wants to believe, yes, they got more pumps in them. All they have to do is just, coordinate when there's a difficulty adjustment, and they can perpetually just prop up the price. No, Bcash is dead. Bcash, if anyone watched my one-on-one interview with Rocky Palumbo from 3 weeks ago, where, we used the evidence to just absolutely destroy the use case of Bcash, there is no use case. Their use case is pumping and dumping and stealing from you. And now that Jihan Wu is going to be marginalized by the fact that miners are spreading around the world and China is going to be taking away some of the subsidies, they don't even have him anymore as a major player. The best trade I can tell you is going to be sell Bcash against Bitcoin, because Bcash has nothing left. This Lightning Network is absolutely going to annihilate. They won't even be able to say anymore. He tries to lie all the time about how Bcash is faster, which it really never has been faster. I mean, yes, no one uses it, but the fact is now it's going to be embarrassing when everyone sees that the Bitcoin network is vastly faster than the Bcash network and all the other ones combined. And that's going to be the big story of 2017, 18.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see a focus on technology once again. I mean, obviously, it's super exciting when the price goes up, and but I when people focus too much on that aspect and they don't realize what's going on behind the scenes, it's easy to fool people into shifting their focus elsewhere, because they don't realize that the most developers and the best developers are working on Bitcoin, and you've got this B team that's working on things like Bcash, and sure, you might get a few pumps out of doing something like that, but in the long run, you want to be on the team that has the best people working on it. And I see that as Bitcoin. Otherwise, why would those brilliant minds stick around? They would move on to something else if they didn't believe in what they were doing. So I'm strictly in the corner of Bitcoin. And
I don't think Bcash even has a development team. I really think Bcash, he may have believed it. I mean, again, when you think about how it was created, no, the whole idea was we're going to do the SegWit2x thing, and then oh my God, the UAHF got defeated, and the UASF. Oh my God, and the next thing BIP91, and the next thing we're going to have SegWit, and they're like, oh my God, we just got to do a hard fork. We got to get this out just to do something. They have no idea what their game plan was. They just brought this thing out ahead with all their bugs and their emergency difficulty adjustment that just it made it an embarrassment. And then they just realized, we could say all we want about, we're Satoshi's vision, all that BS, that makes no sense at all. But what it came down to was, I think Roger and Gian just realized, oh my God, we got the best manipulation machine in the world. There are all these 80% idiots that'll follow everything we say because I'm the Bitcoin Jesus. And if I say that we're faster than Bitcoin and we're the true vision, and I go on CNBC and say it at the same time, and at the same time I sell a little of my Bitcoin to juice the price, and you mess around with the difficulty adjustment, we can get a pump. And since I know it's going to happen, I can profit from this and buy some altcoins. And it became it's just a giant pumping and dumping machine, but it's one that's a house of cards because their use case is zero. No one uses it. You cannot scale on chain. The math proves it. And now that we have the Lightning Network here, I mean, they're going to die. They're going to become, seriously, Bcash. I know everyone my initial thought was, well, it's going to do well because there's so few of these liquid assets out there. You have the wall of institutional money. And right now, the wall of money is like, well, Bcash is liquid. It's bigger than most of them. So is Ripple. Ripple, oh, it's not a crypto. I don't even know what a crypto is anyway, but it's on the list, so I'll buy it. I don't even think it's going to last that long that way. I think it's going to be relegated, Roger and all, to the list of the B diamonds and the super Bitcoins and all the crap out there that do absolutely nothing except counterfeit Bitcoin. Because the use cases of all these things, anyone who tries to compete, look, if you want to be an altcoin and you want to try to say we do something different, okay, if you can do it well and you can market it well, you have a chance to be a big winner, and maybe you might actually have something that's usable and unsubsumable. But if you're going to just say, oh, we're forking Bitcoin, we're going to change one parameter, four megabyte blocks instead of 2, and we'll have equal hash versus this, they're all going to be marginalized to like less than 0.01 Bitcoin within a year.
Yeah, at that point, it becomes trivial to even try to access it, because especially if it's a hard fork, you're risking your Bitcoin just to access these forked coins, right? So I mean, I look at something like Bitcoin Diamond, and when there's no easy way to do it yourself, without having to move around your Bitcoin and risk your original coins, you're risking a $10,000 to $20,000 Bitcoin in order to access, $50, $40, $30 in some cases. It becomes, do I even want to bother at that point? So, we were talking a little bit before we got started here about the idea of hard forks. And you said that you think that hard forks are done and that airdrops are the way to go. So maybe you want to chat a little bit about that and why you think that might be the case.
Yeah. And again, it's such a rapidly, I call it double dog years, how everything progresses here, from news to prices to technology and memes and beliefs about how the system's going. I mean, when again, Bcash just came out of nowhere. That was not a planned hard fork. That was a reaction to, oh my God, Bitcoin it just locked in. We thought we could destroy SegWit, but they locked it in on their own on July 15th with their soft fork. And so now we're kind of screwed because we thought we could stop them. So let's just hard fork. And of course, there was the first one. So they hyped it and everyone's all excited. And then they threw all that, what I just said before, all the manipulation and the power, the political capital they had behind it. So everyone was like, oh, this is a good idea. And since at the same time this started this big run, everyone started doing it, starting with Gold, and then all these other ones. And the fact is they have miserably underperformed. I mean, we just had this altcoin pump we just had to be, in my career, 30 years, I've never seen anything like this. The dot-coms at the top in 1999 didn't do what these altcoins just did. And these altcoins may have even less use case now than those dot-coms did back then. And so the point was, people were just jumping on for money grabs. But here we are just a couple months later, and you look at it, and all of these ones have done nothing. I remember this, the super Bitcoin. It's like the big Chinese billionaire who's like the equivalent of, I guess, Roger Ver over there is behind it. He's backing it. You know what it's worth? 0.05 Bitcoin. Lightning Bitcoin, B Diamond, they say, oh, well, we'll say instead of 21 million Bitcoin, there'll be 210 million. So that'll be good because we can have a lower price, and people like lower prices because of unit bias. And it's just a big disaster. And as you say, Trezor's got better things to do. They're very busy than try to support all these millions of crappy forks. You got United Bitcoin, that's Jeff Garzik. There's this SegWit 2x20, 2.0. I said, having a SegWit 2x20 would be like having a Hitler coin issued in Israel. That's how much people want something like that. And I mean, it's just that crazy. But the point is, as you said, on top of the fact that these things don't add anything, they're just like literally just changing one parameter and saying, oh, you should buy us, pump it so we could sell it to the greater fool, that you have to split them. It's not like you get them. Yeah. I mean, look, I work with people. You can contact me. I work with a wallet expert who can split your B Diamond. They can split your B Core airdrop. They can get you super Bitcoin. But as you said, they're only worth like 0.05 Bitcoin. And to do it, you're going to have to move your Bitcoin off of your Trezor onto someone else, and then onto another Trezor, and then give the seed for that, and then you go through all this process to get very little value out of it. And again, you need an expert like the person I talked to. Otherwise, no one's doing it for you. Trezor is never going to do it. It's all closed source code. No, I mean, Coinbase still hasn't even done B-Gold. They're certainly not going to do these other ones. So it's not really crypto dividends, as opposed to, and on top of that, as I said, these things have underperformed. They're terrible. They're the worst performers in the altcoin sector. No one wants them. So the new thing is going to, and this is the perfect time, because everyone who knows me knows I'm pretty much the biggest bull in the world on this Bitcoin Rhodium. The wallet was just introduced yesterday. Actually, it's been around for 2 or 3 days, the beta wallet, but it's an airdrop. You don't risk anything. For the people that paid attention to people like myself and Adam Meister who were talking about it, they created their own altcoin. They call it Bitcoin. It is like the protocol of Bitcoin, but it's not forked off of Bitcoin. They're just they're distributing it to Bitcoin holders who simply had to register public addresses, and they get it for free. And once they get it, all they have to do is list it. And guess what? You got it. You can sell it. You can hold it. You don't have to wait for Trezor or Coinbase to split it for you. And it's so much easier. And of course, no one's looking at Rhodium and saying, well, that's a counterfeit Bitcoin. They're saying it's an altcoin. Big difference. The stigma's not there. So I think that going forward, anyone who's still trying to do, like I see this Bcash Plus, it's like this B interest, even B private. I know that they think that they're like the great financial engineers, but it's just a pump and dump scheme. And and ultimately has to be forked and split and all that stuff. So I think the way of the future is going to be airdrops, and I think Rhodium is going to be the pioneer in the space. Yes, I know Byteball has done it in the past, but it's a very small one that no one has heard of. This one's going to be a lot more high profile, and it's going to make people realize how much more valuable it is. Look, Bitcoin's the liquidity of these hard forks is what makes Bitcoin even more valuable. And if people realize, wow, I don't have to deal with the B diamond crap, I can just get it like this, it's going to make Bitcoin that much more valuable.
Yeah, and the thing for those watching that are unsure about how an airdrop would work, you're not putting your private keys at risk. What you're doing is you're actually signing a message with your private key, so you're not giving it away to prove that you have ownership over a certain, I guess, wallet. And at that point, so with Rhodium, they're looking at the value of the Bitcoin that you're holding and then giving you an airdrop based upon that. Is that correct?
Yeah, 10 Rhodium for every 1 Bitcoin that you held as of the snapshot date, which is about a week ago. And there'll only be 2.1 million out there. So, ever. So, and only half of that now when it first starts trading. The other half, the other million, will take 100 years to get there. So the point is, they just wanted Bitcoin holders as the strongest sound money advocates and cryptocurrency hodlers out there to be the owners. And all they were doing, like you said, was just say, hey, confirm that you own Bitcoin, not show us your private keys, show us your public keys so that we can say, yeah, that guy has a Bitcoin, so you get 10 Bitcoin Rhodium. And there was a couple before that. There was the Byteball, there was Bitcore, was another one where it was a different coin. They weren't starting a new coin. They were just distributing their own coin to Bitcoin holders who proved that they own Bitcoin because they wanted the publicity. They wanted the big Bitcoin community to say, hey, look at this Bitcore. And it's worked. Bitcore's gone from $6 back then to it's like $25 today. And that was the goal. And in the case of Rhodium, they are trying to be silver to Bitcoin's gold, except not by forking, simply by giving it away.
Wow. Yeah. And I mean, when I look at things like that, I much prefer that to having to risk any of my Bitcoin. That's just something I'm not willing to do unless it's a substantial payout. And I don't think that's going to be the case moving forward. Like you said, I don't think that any of these forks are going to have value. It's, Bcash got some pumps out of it because it was the first through that door. But we saw B-Gold was worth substantially less. B-Diamond was worth substantially less. And now things like Super Bitcoin are essentially worthless and not even worth getting your hands on for the risk. So yeah.
And even when we're talking about airdrops, the big pink elephant in the room is you actually have to have a viable use case. I mean, yes, it's a more favorable structure to get the airdrop, but that said, if you don't actually have a use case, then it's not going to do well. In the case of Rhodium, I think you have both. But either way, the fact that even if you did have a weak use case, the fact that you could just give it to me and I can immediately sell it, as opposed to look, I would do anything to easily sell my B Diamond right now, the B Diamond I haven't been able to touch for 0.05 or 0.005 Bitcoin. But I can't do that unless I go through jumping through hoops with this expert. But if they just gave it to me an airdrop and it's worth 0.005, well, like you said, we're talking about what's worthless. Well, that's worth a lot to me. If I don't have to do anything except just say, send Bittrex, done. Thank you for the Bitcoin. That I'm happy with.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I just want to touch on one other point here, and this is in relation to, we were talking about scaling, we were talking about forks, we were talking about briefly Coinbase, and how Coinbase finally honored the Bcash payout to their users. Took them long enough. I don't think they have any plans to honor the Gold fork or anything beyond that. But in relation to scaling, they've really been dragging on getting SegWit addresses. They don't batch transactions, and as such, and a lot of users of Coinbase are new to crypto and don't realize this, but they're paying way higher fees than they need to be. In fact, it's ridiculous how high the fees can be with Coinbase's wallet when you're sending to an external address. It's through the roof. And same with BitPay. They haven't integrated SegWit yet. We've heard some rumblings that they're going to, but I mean, do you see these guys falling in line with the roadmap of Bitcoin and scaling, or do you see them as continuing to try to pump these alternatives and just either being ignored and being a rallying cry for these alts, or disappearing? What do you think their roadmap is going to look like?
Well, just like Bcash peaked in its relevance, I don't know, a month ago, 2 months ago, Coinbase peaked in its relevance. Coinbase is going to die for reasons that have nothing to do with their horrible management and decisions. They're going to die because decentralized exchanges are going to eat their lunch. And by the way, good exchanges, centralized exchanges in crypto-friendly nations like BitFlyer. Japan considers Bitcoin legal tender. Japan is the most pro crypto Western nation there is, and BitFlyer, from what I'm told, I've got an account, is the best exchange. I mean, you can get $50,000 of trading approved immediately. Coinbase, you can't ever get it approved, and then I guess you have to be there like a BSD. Look it up, people. And you had to be around a long time trading a lot to get up to there. I think Coinbase, they're basically, they just cater to the small end people who are desperate to buy. They're like the only ones out there that let you, like a small fry, buy with a bank account. So they don't even know that they're paying a lot, or they don't know what a transaction fee is. So that's who they cater to. High margin business, lots of volume of high margin business. They don't care about their customers. They certainly have hurt them in so many ways it's unimaginable. But now that there's so many other good exchanges out there, like BitFlyer, and many others that are out there, and many more that are coming, let alone all these decentralized exchanges, I think the age of centralized exchanges in our double dog years pace of development is almost over. It's like I've been talking about for some time. I always use the analogy, you know the movie Contact with Jodie Foster? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they say, okay, build this time travel pod. And Jodie Foster walks in and goes, well, why'd you guys put a chair in here? And they said, well, it's for safety. It's not in the plans, but it's for safety. She said, all right, but okay. And then, she sits in it, and then the last second she gets up, unbuckles herself to get the necklace, and then the chair implodes. And, the point is, the chair is not part of the vision. We don't need the centralized exchanges. They hurt. The Coinbases and the centralized exchanges are not Satoshi's vision. What is the peer-to-peer network, and that's what's coming. That's what all the technology is going to be giving us now. We're going to see, that's the big surprise between the Lightning Network, decentralized exchanges. 12, 24 months from now, Coinbase will not even remember who they are. They'll be completely marginalized. So for now, yeah, people deal with the high fees, but I don't think the big investors really even use Coinbase anymore. It's all for tiny, small fry. Like, oh, please, I need to buy a tiny amount. I don't even look at what the fees are.
Yeah, yeah, I'd agree. Most people, first thing that they see when they hear about Bitcoin or crypto in general is oh, I can buy it on Coinbase with my credit card, and that it takes a while for them to realize, oh, I just paid ridiculous fees to buy in the
Oh,
first place.
it's like 25% commission or some unbelievable amount if you buy with a credit card on Coinbase.
Yeah, it's insane. Okay, and the last thing I wanted to touch on is the price. So, I mean, price talk is always fun. It was wild in 2017. I mean, we started out the year around $1,000 and ended the year. You know, it hit 20 in the middle of December. And it's hard to remember, but it was just the last day or so of November that we hit 10K for the first time. So we haven't been up here for that long. So I don't know if you care to volley a guess as to what might happen. Is this going to be another 2014 where we continue to pull back for a while before we see these rises again, or do you think that it's going to slowly and steadily march onward, or do you think we're going to see some crazy volatility this year? Do you get a sense of what the market is perhaps going to lean towards?
Well, put it this way. I have never been more bullish about Bitcoin than I ever have been than this very minute in time. And you know, what do I think is going to happen again? Double dog years. We were hitting 20,000 2 weeks ago. It's December 17th, so it was a month ago. And then we're hitting $9,000 3 weeks later. We can easily be at 20,000 in 3 weeks, and no one even remember all this stuff. But the fact is, you know, it's like, again, when things go down, you had this epic, to me, this whole crash thing. Yes, you could say, yes, the sector needs to consolidate a little, but it's really the altcoins. Okay, Bitcoin at $300 billion market cap, given what that was at the peak, given what it's done in the past year and what its role is turning into, is nothing. It's tiny. But the altcoins, what they did, just pumping into oblivion, you know, when nothing has happened. The use case for almost all of them didn't change at all. I guess you could argue that Ethereum's use case, you know, the outlook for more ICOs got bigger. But again, you know, that's I mean, right now Ethereum is being valued as one of the biggest tech stocks in the entire world. And it's got lots of competition and lots of issues. But all the other ones, absolutely nothing. Okay. So to me, this was just, you know, the alts crashed. Bitcoin was pulled down with it more than it should have been. And, you know, the wall of institutional money's here. The wall of institutional money came when Bitcoin hit $100 billion market cap. That was 6,000, not 10. We're way above that. The whole world wants in on this thing right now. They're also watching, by the way, and all the people that said, oh, Bitcoin's going to crash and gold's going to go up. Gold didn't go up. Gold's up like 2%. Silver didn't go up at all. It's down. No, it's not being replaced by gold. And nothing, as I said, there's not a single negative thing out there. South Korea isn't even news. China, what? China keeps trying. What? There's no news. And let the U.S. try something. Just you watch the price double if the U.S. came in and tried to do anything. There's nothing that could stop it. Meanwhile, the whole world wants to come in, and the price is down 50%. I tweeted this morning. I said, for $210 million, okay, right now, assuming you bought at 10,000, okay, give or take, you could be one of the 1,000 largest holders in the world, or I should say, guaranteed to be one of the 1,000 largest, because no one, you can't have more than 1,000 people have more. You'd probably be one of the. I mean, the European Union is printing that every other day. I mean, and that makes you one of the biggest holders in the world for $2 billion, which again, the European Union prints $40 billion a month. I mean, assuming the supply was there, you could be one of the top 100 holders in the world. $2 billion. You think the Bank of Japan isn't buying right now? The Bank of Switzerland, all these crypto hedge funds. You know, you got guys like Mike Novogratz, who hasn't even opened his hedge fund yet. It's going to be like the biggest one, all these things. There's no way the price is going down. It's just not. And if people want to get into the FUD and get all excited because Tone Vase says, oh, look at my indicator. It says it could go to 75. Yeah, it could. You know, I spent 15 years of watching these stupid. I know I love Tone. I'm not calling him stupid. I'm saying in the gold thing, it's always, well, if it goes down, it can go down more, but then if it goes up, it can go up more, and you look like a hero both ways, because you can say when it went up, well, I'm the biggest bull, but if it went down, look, I said it would go down. The fact is, technical analysis only works when no one is looking at the same thing. The entire freaking world is looking at this numerical indicator. You think it's going to work? No, you had a big blow off top. Okay, so now things are coming down. There's horrible sentiment out there. People are desperately all over Twitter looking for places to like learn something. Oh my God, look at this guy. He's got a chart that said it's going to go up. This one says it's going to go down. And there's so many people just following all this stuff, and they just follow fundamentals. People are buying Bitcoin. Institutions are buying Bitcoin. Billionaires are buying Bitcoin. And pretty soon everyone is going to be buying it. So to be at this like tiny valuation of $180 billion is a joke. It's like gold being at $1,300 when the cost of production is, for all intents and purposes, like $2,000. It's not going down. If it goes down, it's a tiny bit. It's not going to 7,500. And if you resist and you listen to the FUD, you're going to lose out on a great opportunity to own the world's scarcest, most valuable asset.
And honestly, like when it's going through these types of dips, that's where the people that really believe in it have typically made their most money, when people are freaking out and they don't know anything about the technology, whereas the people that really have studied and understood it, they're the ones that are accumulating right now. And they're the ones that will benefit the most from doing that. So yeah, very, very interesting to see. Now, Andy, I do want to thank you for being on. I always close with one final question. And that question is, and you can get it as deep or as vague with this as you like, but what does Bitcoin represent to you?
It represents the new gold. That's number one. So it's going to be, in my beyond strong opinion, again, this is coming from the guy who was the biggest gold bull in the world, it's going to be worth more than gold. And gold right now has a market cap, if you want to put it that way, of 7 or 8 trillion. I don't know if they cross above that level or below that level. I suspect it may be above, because I don't think gold's going down much, if at all. So it's going to be worth more than gold, because it is the new gold. I also think it's going to be the anchor to the global monetary system. I don't mean it's going to be the end all be all, meaning everyone uses it for everything. I guess that's possible, but I think there are many altcoins that are going to be used. Some of them are going to be private coins. There might be an Amazon coin, all kinds of things that are going to be used. But I do believe that the stable center, whereas you couldn't have a gold standard because the governments would de facto be controlling the gold so they can abuse it just like they've used fiat money. You could have a Bitcoin standard because everyone knows how much Bitcoin there is out there. It can't be changed. It can't be hidden. Can't create derivatives to make it look like there's more or less of it. So I do believe it's going to be an anchor, just like, you need to, on Poloniex and all these exchanges, you need to sell cryptocurrencies into Bitcoin and use Bitcoin to buy the others. I think it's going to be an anchor. If maybe not the only anchor, there may be some other things, but I think it's going to be a primary anchor of the future monetary system. And so we're talking about a dual thread here of epic proportion.
That's a fantastic summary if I've ever heard one. Andy Hoffman, thank you so much for being on. Can you just let everybody know once more where to find you, maybe your Twitter, your website, whatever else you want to throw out there?
Right. For some reason, my Hangout toolbox wasn't downloading here, so I couldn't do it. But it's CryptoGoldCentral.com. It's a subscription-based blog. I have a free trial subscription. Otherwise, it's just $225 a year. And I write a lot. I write a lot. And I do private consultations about cryptocurrency and precious metals. And of course, at Andy_Hoffman_CG is my very active Twitter handle. You can always email me at ahoffman@CryptoGoldCentral.com.
Awesome. And all of that info will be in the links down below. Once again, Andy, thank you so much for being on. I had a blast talking with you, and I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to hit like and subscribe, drop a tip if you're able to, and share this video. If you'd like to support the show in another way, check out my affiliate link down below to grab yourself a Ledger Nano S to secure your cryptocurrency, or pick up any of these shirts, including the Flippening shirt that I've got up on Redbubble. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys next time on the BTC Sessions.